Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today we're going to carry on a very recent tradition. We are going to look at every single card in Fusion Strike, which is the largest Pokemon TCG set ever, so we might have to go with a little bit of a clip. Now, a couple things before we get going. First of all, we're doing this because the Evolving Skies video went pretty well and was well received and the feedback was awesome. Secondly, no, we're not going to be able to go through every single card in exhaustive detail for pretty obvious reasons. But thirdly, it's not just going to be a slideshow of all the cards. We are going to be talking about all the cards as we go through. We're just not going to be able to spend a huge amount of time on them. And also, I should mention, when it comes to evolving Pokemon, we are only going to mention them where they are mechanically interesting. So there is a Butterfree coming along that when you evolve into it, you can make your opponent's active Pokemon burned, confused, and poisoned. It's fun, but it's still a stage 2. That's a bit annoying. Breloom can do 150 damage for free energy, but that's honestly not good enough to really make a bit of a difference. Breloom V is finally coming after being a promo over in Japan. Unfortunately, it does 20 damage plus as much damage as you took last turn, but it's super easily played around. There is a Simisage for a single energy, does 30 damage, lets you draw till you got 6 cards in your hand, would be really good on a basic Pokemon. There is a Levani, which lets you heal all damage from all of your bench Pokemon, which is awesome, but unfortunately, again, it's a stage 2 and it's always going to be a bit awkward. Amazing art though. Maractus lets you discard any number of tools from your hand, dealing 50 damage for each one you discarded. Potential for big damage if you can ever make that deck work. Excelgor can do 120 damage for just a single energy if you move from the bench to the active this turn. That is a Pokemon to keep an eye on. Fusion decks are going to love it. Virizion lets you get 2 Pokemon back from the discard pile, but it's often not going to be worth giving up your turn for. Trevenant is just generic and a bit rubbish, but the Phantom has Okacheke artwork and I am in love. We've got an Araquanid here, which does 110 and moves an energy to one of your bench, but it's not good enough, I'm afraid. Serena V comes in, 2 energy, 20 damage. You may discard any number of your bench Pokemon, dealing 40 more for each bench Pokemon you discarded in this way. And I think this could be really good. You leave yourself vulnerable by discarding your whole bench, but I am sure some people are going to use this as a really big attack, especially one to close the game. Rillaboom V finally comes around after being a promo in Japan ages ago, but there's nothing really good about it. It's way too expensive. It does come with a V Max that can deal 180 to the active and 40 to 2 bench Pokemon, but again, the 4 energy is going to be a problem. Eldegoss can do 50 and heal 20 for a single energy, but it doesn't deal enough or heal enough, so sorry. Appleton gets a Pokemon V coming in here, but free energy, 100 damage, heal 30. It's not going to make you too happy. Zarude can deal 70 damage for 2 energy if you flip ahead. Let's just move on from that one. We've got Ninetales coming in here. 2 energy, 70 damage. Let's move on. Some of these cards came from the family decks over in Japan, so they are meant to be kind of generic and boring. And then we've got the other Ninetales. The retreat cost of each of your Pokemon with any fire energy attached is 2 energy less. It means that you can basically reduce the retreat cost of any of your Pokemon. That makes it a card that's probably going to see some play. And yes, we do have 2 Vulpix as well, which is quite nice. There's an Arcanine here that can deal 160 for free energy, but I think that's a little bit too... It's not quite good enough, unfortunately. We've got a Macargo that does 150 for free energy, flip 3 coins for each Tails, discard an energy from this Pokemon, but 150 isn't good enough for that much energy. There is a Victini that lets you attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon, but you have to attach an energy to Victini to do this. You might as well just attach it to the bench in the first place. Wonderful Arita artwork though. We've got a Simisear. Lets you discard 2 fire energy from your hand, deal 120. It's not absolutely terrible. Chandelure V has Poltergeist. Look at your opponent's hand, 40 damage for each trainer. But Chandelure V Max does 70 damage for each trainer. And I do think there is a lot of potential here. I could see a Chandelure V Max deck being really good in the future, especially if we ever get some good item lock to go along with it. Also stops your opponent playing tools. There is a Heatmore coming in here that deals 90, but if you got 3 extra energy attached, you also deal 120 to one of your opponent's bench. It's super expensive for 6 energy, but if you can get the energy on, it's actually really good. Oricorio lets your Fusion Strike Pokemon take 20 less damage from attacks, and yes, that is going to see play in Fusion Strike decks. There is a new Cinderace V. 3 energy 210 is actually pretty good, I'll be honest with you. This is one of the ones from the family deck cards, and it is the best Cinderace V out there. There's another Cinderace V that is a single strike that was a promo in Japan. 4 energy 210 and can't attack. No, use the other one unless you really want to have a single strike Pokemon. And then you got a new Cinderace VMAX, 4 energy, 230 plus burn. 4 energy's too much, I'll be honest with you. Love the artwork, but no. There is a Rapid Strike Center Scorch that does 30 damage and next turn does 90 more, but it's never going to work. It's not good enough, I'm sorry. And there is a non-Rapid Strike Center Scorch that is just terrible. Love the artwork. The card is just bad. There is a Cloyster coming along that for 2 energy does 60 damage, plus 30 to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Being a Rapid Strike Pokemon, this can be a single energy attack, and actually, yeah, I could get on board with this one. This one seems fun. There is a Starmie that lets you discard any amount of water energy from this Pokemon, and then for each one discarded, you deal 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you can pile enough water energy on there, there is potential. There is a Lapras that puts all energy from Lapras back to your hand, minimum of 3, but then does 100 to one of your opponent's bench, but then you realise 100 isn't actually good enough, and you get a bit sad. There is a Feraligatr that when you evolve into it, you flip a coin. Heads, you discard the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. Tails, you discard the top 5 cards of your deck. In a milling deck, this could be so much fun. Now, there is a new Azumarill coming in here that puts 3 in any combination of Pokemon and supported cards from your discard pile into your hand, which is going to be nice for disruption decks. But we've also got Marill, which has Let's All Roll Out. Boo! Let's Roll was a Japanese name, it was way better. But it does 20 damage for each of your bench Pokemon with the Let's All Roll Out attack. And actually, and Let's All Roll Out is a mouthful, Let's Roll is so much better. But they're all coming in this set. And you can make a fun little cheap rogue deck with this. There's a Quillfish, which is really bad. There is a Mantine, 20 damage and flip to the bench for a single energy. It's just not good enough. We've got a Swampert, which lets you attach an extra water or fighting energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. But we've got better ways to accelerate both those energy. Free energy 180 is fine, but you got to do 20 to each of your bench, and it's a stage 2, and it's never going to work. Now, we got Huntail and Gorbis. Remember, they are both evolving from Clamperl here. And Huntail says that your opponent's single strike Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colorless energy more, which is really annoying for them. And Gorbis says that Rapid Strike Pokemon in play have no abilities. Gorbis is the better of them for stuff like Inteleon, for instance, which could be really fun. But these are both potentially really nice counters to widely played decks, and I think it is something you should take just a little bit seriously. These ones could be a little bit fun. We've then got ourselves Simipour, 60 damage for each supporter card in your opponent's hand. Could occasionally be good, but I don't think it's worth the risk. There's a Basculin that does 30 damage, plus as much damage as is already on your opponent's active. And again, with Rapid Strike energy being a thing, this could actually be a really nice closer in Rapid Strike decks. Expect this one to see a little bit of play. There is a Galarian Darmanitan that does 130 for a single energy if it's got any damage counters on it, and I do think that one's a little bit relevant and a little bit fun. Greninja V is coming in here, free energy, 80 damage for each heads you can flip from free coins. This was a family deck card, and unfortunately it really shows. There is a Chloritza that can snipe 50 for 1 energy. That's the best it's got. Crabominable V is a really nice Pokemon, discards the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck for 1 energy, or for free energy does 90 plus 60 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. Inteleon decks are going to love it. Pyukumuku's got the wonderfully named Pitche Pyukumuku ability. Lets you basically, if it's in your hand, put it on the bottom of your deck to draw a card. You can't stack this ability, but it's going to be good for decks that can work with fewer than 60 cards. We've got the new Inteleon V, free energy 120 plus snipe 20 is fine, but the new V Max is where it's at. Discard a water energy from your hand to drop 2 damage counters on 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, plus 140 for 2 energy. This is one to take seriously. Dreadnought, 130 for free energy if you can flip heads, is not worth worrying about. Barrascuda, single energy 50, let's move on. Frostmoth, free energy 160, put all energy back to your hand. The theory here, of course, is you then use the other Frostmoth to reattach it, but it's just not a good enough attacker. There is a new Pikachu V, but the best it's got is free energy 100. We have better Pikachu V. There is a single strike Electrode, 1 energy, 120. You do 90 to yourself, which is enough to KO, but this can win your games if you play it properly. We've got a new Plusle and Minun. Plusle does 120 if Minun attacked last turn, and Minun's got a really nice call for family. You never know, they could be a nice little pair one day. We go all the way up to a stage 2 Luxray to do 90 for 2 energy. Cheers for that. What a waste of my time. We've got a Rotom that can discard all the tools from all of your opponent's Pokemon. Could be an occasional tech here or there if you really hate tools. We got a new Electros with Okacheke artwork, which I adore. The card itself, free energy 160, yeah. I do like if you evolve from Electric this turn, 40 damage plus paralysis, but as a stage 2, I don't think it's good enough. Would like to be wrong. There's a Heliolisk that does 60 sniping 20 for 2 energy. Nah. We've got a Vikavolt, which is actually legit good. 4 energy, discard 2 lightning, and you do 200 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. It can use twin energy, but over in Japan, they've also got Charger Bug, so you can actually get this going in one turn, and it is a legit, really good rogue deck. Over here, without Charger Bug, it's just not as good. Zeraora comes along, 2 energy, 70 plus 20 to itself, no. There's a new Boltund V, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's not as good as the old Boltund V. I'm really not a fan. Sorry. Boltund V Max, however, is basically just a big version of the old Boltund V. Free energy 230, 2 energy 30 plus 30 more for each lightning energy attached to all your Pokemon. Could see some play and some love here or there. We've got a non-Fusion Strike Toxtricity, which does 70, but you can also do paralysis if you do 70 to yourself. Don't know if it's going to be worth it. And then we've got a Fusion Strike Toxtricity that brings down the maximum HP of your opponent's VMAX Pokemon by 30, which I really like the idea of in some decks. There is a Morpeko that for 2 energy does 30 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's not 1 energy, it's not good enough. We've got a Wigglytuff that lets you search your deck for any 2 cards. Again, it would be way better on a basic, but Jigglypuff does have the Let's All Roll Out attack. Jinx for 1 energy draws 2 cards, but it's not the only time we've seen this. Mew V Max has that wonderful cross fusion strike attack that lets you copy the attacks of your bent fusion strike Pokemon. And no, you do not need the requisite energy because it doesn't say that you do. And you might even want to copy Mew V's attack, 70 damage plus shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. Saves you from being KO'd. Now we got a new Granbull that lets you put up to 2 Pokemon tools from your discard pile into your hand when you evolve into it, which could be a nice little tech in some tool-reliant decks. Galarian Cursola puts a basic Pokemon V from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench, and then you place damage counters until their remaining HP is 30. If you then do some gusting or some bench hitting, this could have some really cheeky KOs. I really, really like Galarian Cursola. Moreisle should have been in Evolving Skies because it matches the artwork on the Smeargle and the Meowth, but for 1 energy, 30 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon's attacks cost 1 energy more, and their retreat cost is 1 more. Still not good enough. Deoxys is both Fusion Strike and Single Strike and Rapid Strike, And for free energy, you do 160 if you've got a Fusion Strike energy attached. There are so many options here with Deoxys. Some people are going to do some crazy things because it fits into all three of those categories. There's a Musharna that for 2 energy does 30 plus 30 more for each energy on your opponent's active. Love Musharna, don't love this attack. Sigilif, I don't know, single energy, 20 damage plus discard all the tools, it's not good. Meloetta for 2 energy does 70 damage for each Fusion Strike energy attached to all of your Pokemon. That's 280 for 2 energy if you get all your Fusion Strike energy in play. This is a great tech in Fusion Strike decks. Palisand, 4 energy, instant KO on a basic Pokemon, but it is 4 energy, and we're in a VMAX heavy format, let's not go crazy. There is an Indeedee, which has got Call for Family, and that's the best thing that we can say. We've got Dragapult, which for a single energy does 30 damage for each of your Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. It is a stage 2, but if you've got a full bench of Fusion Strike, that's 180 for a single energy. We could get excited about this. There is a Sandslash, 2 energy, 60 damage, get a card back from your discard pile, which is nice, but 2 energy on a stage 1 is too much. There is a Primate that does 90 to a Pokemon V, does get a 1-hit KO on a Crobat V for a single energy, so good? No. Interesting? Yes. There is a Golem, and the Geodude has Okacheke artwork, which I adore. If it's knocked out in the active, you put 10 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. The problem is you just don't have a good enough attack to use with it, and that means that the card's never going to be good. There is a Steelix that does 20 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon, and it probably will never work with the Donphan from Vivid Voltage, but you'll better believe I'm going to be trying this one out over and over and over again. We got a new Glysaur that does, 100 and poison for free energy, 2 energy, 30, discard an energy. It's not good. Sorry. We've then got Hariyama. Free energy 100 is not good, but if it would be knocked out by damage, you flip a coin, and if it's not knocked out, it goes to 10 HP, and that's any time it would be KO'd. It doesn't need to have, no HP remaining. Hariyama could ruin some people's days, and I would find it funny. Claydol has, for 2 energy, got an attack that puts damage counters on your opponent's active until it goes down to 60 HP remaining. That could actually be really good to set up KOs for later. Lucario V, free energy 120. It's from the family decks. It's not good. We've got Landorus here. 20 damage and then flick to the bench. Maybe. 120 for free energy and then redistribute the energy. It's not a good card. We've got ourselves a new Beware, including the Okacheke Stuffle, and incidentally, outside of chase cards, this is one of the greatest cards that's ever been drawn into Pokemon TCG, and I will not hear counter-arguments. Don't let me know in the comment section, there are no counter-arguments, it's that good. Unfortunately, the Beware is terrible. 2 energy, 40 damage plus confusion is probably the best thing about the card. We got ourselves a Graplocked here. Free energy 90, let's just move on, shall we? Phalanx is kind of interesting, free energy, and if you've got an opponent with exactly 1 prize card remaining, you deal 220, which is a magic number to KO Pokemon V. This one I find interesting. Unlike the other Phalanx that for a single energy does 30, no. Gengar V is alright, but really, it's all about Gengar V Max. For 2 energy, you deal 60 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon V and GX in play. When this launched, it was one of the very best decks over in Japan, and although it kind of fell out of favour a bit, you better believe this is going to be a top tier deck. Tyranitar V comes from the family decks, it's got vanilla attacks, it's too expensive, sorry. Galarian Obstagoon for a single energy does 30 damage, and you get to turn off one of the defending Pokemon's attacks, which is quite nice. Or 150 for a single energy if they've already got damage on. This is not terrible. Sharpedo, 2 energy, 70 damage, is terrible. Absol, 2 energy, switch to bench with an active, 30 damage. You can use this to try and strand something in the active while doing some damage, and that's the best thing I can say. Toxicroak, single energy, poison, but they take 4 damage during Pokemon checkup. Still weird seeing that rather than between turns. That is something that's kind of interesting. Darkrai, free energy, 90 damage, is not. We got ourselves a new Garboda here. 30 damage plus poison for a single energy. It's not good enough. We've got a new Zoroark. You can do 80 damage for a single energy if you can flip double heads. Love the artwork, don't love the card. Mandibuzz, single energy, 20 damage, and your opponent cannot evolve the defending Pokemon. But they can still evolve the bench, so who cares? We've got a Pangoro. All of the attacks are way too expensive. An Eviltau. All the attacks are way too expensive. Although, to be fair, remember with Eviltau, we do have Houndoom to accelerate some energy. So you could actually start getting this rolling. And then it is a single prize, basic Darkness Pokemon, which is worth, having a little bit of a look into. We've then got ourselves a Grimmsnarl, which for just 2 energy can do 240 if you've got 2 or fewer bench Pokemon. Also, check out the artwork on Impidimp, would ya? Morpeko, I have been waiting for this. This came out in Japan ages ago. Single energy, 30 damage plus 30 more for each damage counter on this Pokemon. But bearing in mind, Houndoom can accelerate energy, and it's single strike energy, and you take damage when it happens, and single strike energy does more damage. Morpeko gets up to really nice damage weirdly quickly. Galarian Berserker lets you search a deck for 2 basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. On a basic, fine. On a stage 1, no. Skarmory, there's nothing really I like about Skarmory. Free energy 110, it's just not good, unfortunately. There's a new Excadrill that I desperately want to love, but free energy 120 and stopping and retreating is not good enough. It's not a good card, I just want it to be good. Durant is wonderfully spiteful, free energy 70 damage, plus paralysis only to fire Pokemon. If you're playing fire decks a lot, I really like Durant, but it's super awkward. Genesect V is good to the point of being ridiculous. It lets you draw until you have as many cards in hand as you have Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. If you've got 6 Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, that's drawing until you've got 6 cards in hand, but this isn't limited to once during your turn, just once per Genesect. So if you've got 4 Genesect out, you can do this 4 times. It's ridiculous. And then free energy 210 is fine. It's a decent little attack, to be honest. Klefki, 10 damage, draw 2 cards. Meh. Togedemaru has got Let's All Roll out as a metal Pokemon, so it's hitting a new weakness in that particular archetype. We've got Melmetal, and Melmetal's just expensive. But free energy, 80 damage, and then prevent all damage from Pokemon that have an ability next turn. If you are regularly playing against decks that have Pokemon in that have abilities, yeah, this one is actually worth having a look at. We've then got Corviknight. Free energy, 160, moving energy to one of your bench. There's nothing really special about it, unfortunately. Copper can do 160, but for 4 energy and doing 30 to yourself, no. I know, like single strike Pokemon, they've all got that thing where they can do a bunch of extra damage, but they've still got to be useful cards to begin with, and this just isn't. Latias, I adore. It's got firstly, Baby Daisy Spirit Pokemon, but you deal 70 damage and then prevent all damage next turn from VMAXs. You don't actually use Latias, you use Mew to copy Latias. And then you've got Latios, who, again, they can both attach Psychic Energy to the other. The thing is, Latias, you really want to copy the attack. Latios, you just don't. 4 energy, 210, there's nothing special. Goodra is finally back into Pokemon TCG, and whenever your opponent tries to attach an energy, they flip a coin, and if tails, it gets discarded. But it doesn't use their energy attachment, so they can keep trying, which makes Goodra a much worse card. Turtonator's got Shell Trap, 30 damage, but if your opponent tries to attack you next turn, they take 8 damage counters, which is nice, but you're talking a fire and a fighting, it's just too awkward. Meowth, I mentioned earlier, does actually match the artwork of those other Pokemon, still should have been in Evolving Skies, but Persian is just terrible. 30 damage and draw a card is not actually terrible. On a basic, it is on a stage 1. Dodrio V finally comes around after being a promo in Japan. Single energy, 20 damage, but next turn you do 80 more, if you're still in the active, which you probably won't be. Free energy 160 is not terrible, but we really want to do 180. Blissey comes along, expert in roundness. You prevent all damage done to all of your Pokemon with Let's All Roll Out attacks by VMAXs. Makes them immune to VMAXs. That's nice. Plus it has Let's All Roll Out, but for 3 energy rather than 2, so let's not get too excited. Kangaskhan, 3 energy, 160 if you flip a heads. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's not terrible. We've then got ourselves just a random Eevee. Flip a coin till you get tails, 30 for each head. Could work, you never know. There's a Snorlax, 3 energy, 80. The less said about that, the better. A Dunsparce that takes away the weakness of all colourless Pokemon. Keep this one in mind, ladies and gentlemen. We know that Arceus V-Star is coming, and there could well be other colourless Pokemon in the future. This is one to keep an eye on. Stantler does 30 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active, but being a colourless Pokemon and never hitting for weakness, you better hope they attach a whole bunch of energy. The Fusion Strike Smeargle is another one which could easily be put among the best artworks we've ever seen in the history of the game. It's by the lovely Mitsuhiro Arita, it's phenomenal, and it lets you put 2 Fusion Strike Trainer cards from your discard pile to your hand. Given what some of the Fusion Strike Trainer cards are, I could see this one seeing play. Delcatty, however, look at your opponent's hand, put a card to the bottom of their deck. Maybe in some disruption decks. Lopunny here, Rapid Strike Pokemon, 70 damage for 2 energy. No. Diggersby, 4 energy, 150. No, although the Bunnelby artwork is absolutely stunning. There's a Hawlucha, 20 damage for a single energy. Discard a special energy from your opponent. Maybe if special energy decks get really big, this could be a nice little tech. Greedent V, I love the Nom 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 Incisors attack. 3 energy, 120, draw 3 cards, but I am all over Greedent V Max. 3 energy, 160, draw 3 cards, 2 energy, 30 damage, but if you KO a basic Pokemon, take 2 more prize cards. I cannot be the only one that thinks this sounds amazing. And yes, Galarian Consola is what I'm going to be testing it with. We've then got ourselves a new Dubwool with 2 different Wooloo. But the bad news is 30 damage switch to the bench is not good enough. Now, we're not going to be talking about the secret rares. I've done that video already. So let's finish off talking about the trainers. Adventurous Discovery, search for free Pokemon V and put them into your hand. Yes, that includes stuff like Crobat. Yes, you can then play it to draw some cards. This is a good supporter that should see a whole bunch of play. Was really annoying to get initially in Japan. Luckily, we're just getting it in our set. Battle VIP Pass can only be played on your first turn. You do get to search for 2 basic Pokemon, but only playing it on your first turn makes it too awkward. There's a Bug Catcher, but we've seen Bug Catcher before. Chili, Silent, and Crest searches for free Fusion Strike Pokemon and puts them into your hand, but remember they could be Genesect to draw you a whole bunch more cards, so I really like it. Cook heals 70 from your active, don't like it. Cram-O-Matic, you can only use it if you discard another card from your hand, then you flip a coin and if heads you search for any card. I love searching for any card, but discarding and then it's flippy anyway is awkward. Cross-switching, you've got to play 2 at once, but if you do, it's gusting and then you switch as well. Great if you can play 2 at once. Cross-Seaver, again, you got to play 2 at once, but you put a Pokemon or supporter card from your discard pile to your hand. That one's interesting. Dancer draws 2 cards, 5 if you go second and it's your first turn. That's way too awkward, it's not going to work often enough. Alisa Sparkle lets you attach 2 Fusion Strike energy from your deck to different Fusion Strike Pokemon. It's crazy good, going to see a bunch of play in Fusion Strike decks. Farewell Bell, if you attach it to a VMAX and they get KO'd by damage from an attack, search for any card. It's awkward and can be played around, but searching any card is big. Judge is back. Both players shovel a hand into their deck and draw 4 cards. It's a reprint, but if you've been playing the game for any length of time, you know this is going to see a huge amount of play. Power Tablet lets your Fusion Strike Pokemon do 30 more damage this turn. It is nuts and going to see a whole bunch of play in Fusion Strike decks. We've got a reprint of Quick Ball with different artwork, which it's Quick Ball, it's amazing. Still, interestingly, has a regulation mark of D, will not keep it in the format. Schoolboy and schoolgirl draw 2 cards, and then if your opponent has the right number of cards, you draw 2 more. 1, 3, and 5 for schoolboy, 2, 4, and 6 for schoolgirl. But unfortunately, it's way too easily played around. Shauna is also getting a reprint. It's a shuffle draw 5. You know it's going to see a bunch of play. Sydney lets you look at your opponent's hand and discard up to 2 in any combination of Pokemon Tools, Special Energy, and Stadium cards, which is good if you're playing a Disruption deck. Skater's Park, whenever a player's active Pokemon retreats, any basic energy that would have been discarded goes to their hand instead. That could be good for some decks, you never know. Spongy Gloves does 30 more to water Pokemon, we've seen these before. And finally, Fusion Strike Energy goes onto a Fusion Strike Pokemon only, but it prevents all effective abilities, like Inteleon. All the other cards in the set are all secret rare cards. We've seen them before. I did that video the other day. To be fair, there are a couple Pokemon, like for instance Espeon VMAX and Celebi, but they're just reprints from a previous set, so they don't really count. So there we go. The biggest set ever, and I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, there are some good cards in here. There is some filler, we all know that, but there's some good cards, there's some wonderful artwork, and now we've talked about all of them, but this video has gone on long enough, so you know the deal. Tell me which of these cards you like. Tell me which of these cards you're looking to pull. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. Maybe tell me your favourite card and your favourite artwork. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.